happy to have you here. I'm coming from a very wet and dark London currently. It would be great to know where everybody else is coming from. I'm co-hosting with Izzy today. Say hi, Izzy.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Thank you so much. And today we have an Ask Me Anything with Debbie Levitt on all things UX and product design. Feel free to start populating questions now in the Q&A tab, which is just below the chat feature. We also have emojis that you can interact with on the bottom of the screen. Showing you here. That's a great way to let us know how much you're enjoying the event, and also the chat box that we also have Debbie in now, which is showing you how it works. So thank you so much, Debbie. I'm just going to pass over to Izzy to tell you a bit more about some upcoming events. But just to let you know, we will be populating the Q&A function with some pre-written questions. So if you're a bit unsure of what to ask or you're a bit too shy, you can also upvote on your favourites. So please utilise that. Over to you, Izzy.
Thanks so much, Rosie, and big welcome, everyone. Great to have everyone here on this, as mentioned, rather rainy, cold evening, but what a great time to be snuggling in for an online event. So my name's Izzy, and I work really closely with Rosie, building out the content on our events. And in particular, we've got our Product Design Week coming up in less than 2 weeks now. Gosh, that's come around quickly. That's from the 13th of November to the 17th. And we have Debbie kindly speaking for us on the Friday on the Business and Design conference, and also doing a bit of hosting with us. But we can go into that a bit more when Debbie kindly joins us on the stage shortly. But just as a little thank you to everyone for joining tonight, we do have a discount code. So the code is Crunch15, thanks Rosie, and that gives you 15% off. Please note that the prices for the tickets go up this evening at 11 p.m. GMT. No, we're BS. What are we now? GMT. They'll be going up tonight. So now's the chance to get those tickets before the prices go up. If you want to know a bit more about the event, let myself and Rosie know. And if you want interested in any team tickets, we can look into those options as well for you. Thanks, Rosie.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And just before we get into it, a big shout out to BP, who is partnering with us for Product Design Week, but also these community events. They're a pleasure to work with and have some really cool talks coming up in Product Design Week, as well as some robots. And I'm all here for robots. I'm kind of obsessed at the moment. So hope to see you there. I'm just going to let Debbie on stage and start populating the Q&A tab with questions. So feel free to start populating with them with your own or upvoting on your favorite. Hello, Debbie.
Hey, is this thing on? Tap, tap, tap.
Yes, you are indeed. You're here. Big welcome. How are you, Debs?
All right. Thanks for inviting me. Always good to see you too. And even more excited to see both of you coming up in London in about 2 weeks. So, holy cats, it's happening.
I know, and I can't believe we'll actually get to meet finally in person as well. I can't wait. It's gonna be so nice.
Yes, it's been a pandemic friendship that we now get to meet in person.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a lot of lost time to make up for as well. So I can see us having a good gossip. And big thanks again, Debbie.
Thank you.
Whilst Rosie's just doing a bit of planning on the platform for the session, maybe you could kindly, because I think it's always nice for our speakers to introduce themselves. Obviously, I've got your bio. I know all about you and how fantastic you are. But just for the audience who maybe haven't had the opportunity to meet you, a bit about yourself would be fab if you're comfortable. Thanks, Debbie.
Yeah, sure. So, hi, if you're not familiar with me, peeps here. I'm Debbie Levitt. My company is Delta CX. We do CX and UX and product strategy and things like that. I'm going to be speaking at the Business of Design Day. So, I hope you'll be joining that. I'll be teaching some of my techniques, though I'll be trying to teach 2 hours of stuff in 20 minutes. So, wish me luck. And let's see, what else can I tell you? I've been doing this for decades, and I'm happy to take any questions at all. Even if you have questions, if you've heard me speak before, if you want to disagree or challenge me, all questions are welcome. Rosie's got some questions as well that you can vote up. But yeah, one thing I don't get, and I've used AirMe before, why does it say 59 people are here, but only 8 are in this session? What happened to the other 51?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think some people have maybe grabbing themselves a snack and getting settled in. But first and foremost, thanks for the introduction,
It's
Deb.
a hungry group.
It is a hungry group. I think it's because it's sort of supper time here. We have popped out an announcement to the audience, so hopefully that should bring in the numbers. Myself and Rosie can kind of facilitate that in the background. But if you are listening and you're grabbing your food, please get back to your desks with your glass
Yeah.
of wine or your cup of tea and get settled in for what will be a really fantastic 45 minutes or so of discussion. So yeah, just a quick one, Debbie, whilst we have one more minute. I have your book here. I have, I think about 20 of these in my flat.
Sorry.
Whilst you,
Thank you.
no, in a really good way. Just a quick one. Have you got anything to sort of like a bit of an overview about your book, and maybe a link in the chat as well for where the audience can get hold of that as well? That would be fab, and then we can get started on the Q&A. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. I'll put the link in the chat. It's a URL shortener. Hopefully, it'll work for people. The book is called Customers Know You Suck. And basically, it's a book about, thank you, it's a book about um, customer centricity and why we are definitely not as customer centric as we would like to be or claim we are, and how we can be more customer centric. So it's probably a more strategic book, but so far people reading it are liking it. You might like some or all of it. It's available in paper format from Amazon. It's available in signed format from me. There is an audio book which you can get from Audible, or I have it totally up for free on my new YouTube channel called CXCC, Customer Experience, Customer Centricity. And we also have digital versions that they can order from the URL, and it's name your own price. So it's as little as $1 American. I did not write the book to make money on it. I wrote the book to share my ideas. So I hope people will give it a try.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's such a lovely gesture as well. I think sort of creating something and then leaving it down to the sort of the consumer to decide what they spend and whatnot. So that's wonderful. Thanks, Debbie.
Thanks.
Fabulous. Well, let's get started with the evening ahead. I'll hand over to Rosie to kind of get the session started, and really looking forward to the questions we've got, and from ourselves and from the audience. Thanks, Rosie.
Oh,
Yeah,
we've
awesome.
got one in the chat room already.
We do. So just a heads up, I will read this from the chat, but to make life a little bit easier, if you see below the chat icon, there is a Q&A icon. That's the best place to put the questions, because then we can put them on screen for you.
That's
But
right.
we have a question from Adam saying, "Hi Debbie, I worked in tech companies that use the term customers and users interchangeably. Do you have any advice on differentiating one from the other from a product designer's perspective? Is there a benefit in doing so?"
So, great question, Adam, and good to meet you. I don't think we've run into each other before. I actually like to use them interchangeably as well, because I find that when a company talks about a customer, they mean people who pay us for something. And when they talk about user, they mean the end user who sometimes isn't paying us for something. The example I tend to hear is, you use Facebook, you're a user of Facebook, but if you started paying for ads on Facebook, now you're a customer of Facebook. And what I find is that at many companies, when they differentiate between the customer and the user, guess what happens? We start really focusing on the people who are paying us, and we either focus less on the people we perceive as not paying us, or we start doing some nasty crap to them to try to serve the people who pay us. So I do tend to prefer when people say, hey, look, we have an ecosystem, and that ecosystem might have end users, buyers, procurement, partners, resellers. We've got different kind of levels of customers or people we interact with in our system. So I would say there probably isn't a great benefit to differentiating that out. To me, they're all customers. even if they're not paying. I like to joke the dog is the customer too, if you have a product for dogs. So I would say, again, I'm concerned that when we do differentiate, someone says, well, these people are paying us, so let's do something for them and F these people or push them around the chessboard type of thing. So I would say from a product designer's perspective, you have to make everything intuitive, logical, easy. It just works for everybody, whether they're paying, trial, free, or some other relationship to the company. So I would say to you as the product designer, you just have to make sure that we are gathering good evidence, data, and knowledge about these people through research, their needs, their tasks, their perspectives, and then designing for that. Adam, I hope that helps. Please ask a follow-up question in the Q&A. I'm always happy to take a follow-up.
That's
Awesome.
awesome. Oh, sorry, I dived in there, Rosie.
Good. We're both two in sync. Yeah, I was just about to say, feel free to like populate your questions whenever, even if it's not relevant to the question that's being asked, like just throw them in there, they'll get attended to. Did you have any follow-ups on that, Debbie, or should I just jump into some of the other questions that we have populated?
I think if we don't get a follow-up in the Q&A or in the chat room, Q&A preferred, we can go with some of the upvoted questions.
Yeah, awesome. So I had this question written by me. How can a business build a strong UX and product design culture? And I know you have a lot of like brilliant information around this, Debbie.
Yeah, thanks. I definitely have a lot to say about that. So I would say that if we are at a company that is looking to build that up or improve that, a lot of the key to that is going to be customer centricity. So do we really care about our customers or users or whatever we're calling them? Or do we just pretend to because we want some money out of them? So it's going to be how customer centric can we be and involve them, not involve them because then people think they have to bring them into workshops. I'm not for that, but make sure we're researching with them and designing for them and testing with them. What about accountability? I think accountability would really change our culture a lot. I can't name a single company right now where if you blow £500,000 on a crappy project, get everything wrong, piss everybody off, make customers hate us, you're in any trouble. There just seems to be no accountability. So I think that we're probably not going to see some cultural improvements in our company until there's a little more skin in the game, as they say. So I think we're going to need to see more accountability. I think a lot of times people think that you create a more design focused culture by holding more workshops or talking about empathy, and I don't think that's working because it makes us sound touchy feely and woo woo in a world of business where people want to make money. So I tell people you got to focus on the things that make the business money, and it's at the top of my page here. Attract, retain. That's it. It's our jobs. If you want UX to be more understood, appreciated, you have to show our part in attracting customers, winning them, making them happy, satisfaction, delight, whatever your company calls it, and keeping them, whether that's they're not canceling or they're buying more or they're buying again. We have to show our part in that because that's where the company makes its money and that's where the company has the opportunity to grow. And I think until especially our leaders do a better job showing that, I think we're going to continue to be a little too misunderstood.
That's wonderful. I can probably just dive in there if that's okay, Rosie. I really like the ideas that you've just mentioned there, Debbie, about sort of the retention, the return on investment. I guess that ties in a lot to the Business and Design Conference, doesn't it? You're kindly speaking at. So how to make design valuable or how to communicate that design is valuable within the team. So that kind of hit the nail on the head there. I'm really looking forward to your presentation coming up in a couple of weeks. I guess off the back of that, it would be good to see if you've got any sort of key, maybe two or three key points that someone sort of listening in this evening could integrate to show potentially how how that does integrate in the business. So say, for example, they have a meeting with their manager, how they show the worth of that, how they show that they are bringing retention, not just kind of through metrics, but if there's any kind of other tips or tricks you've got, because I know you're very strong at those kind of practical, tangible things the audience can learn. It doesn't have to be 2 or 3, it could be just one. But if you're happy to share, that would be awesome.
Of course I
Thanks.
am. Oh gosh, always happy to share. So yeah, I would say that certainly the metrics are a good way because that's how we know that we're achieving some of those business goals. Another way is the other side of the metrics. Why do we never seem to have metrics about the customer experience other than we ran a survey and people gave us a score? Okay, but what about the customer's experience, especially in a digital product? Are we measuring time on task? Are we measuring how often people get an error message? Are we measuring anything that tells us if the customer has success from their perspective? They don't want to see more pages. More page views usually sucks. They don't want more time on pages or in a session. That usually sucks. We want to do things efficiently unless this is doom scrolling YouTube. So, what can we measure that tells us our customers or users are having what they would define as success? The other way, because it can be hard in the moment to show that UX has value, is to make sure that we're considered part of the team who gets the credit when the metrics go well, and technically part of the blame when the metrics don't work well. I think it's important for, again, accountability. We can't just say, well, it's their fault. Part of that is the accountability. And also, I think another area where UX can really show its value is to, and this is probably a little more storytelling, but sometimes you'll have specific numbers, is where is something that especially a UX researcher or designer did that saved our team or product or company time, money, mistakes, risk, waste? Many of us, especially if you've been doing this for a few years, probably have stories about the time we convinced our team to not do something ridiculous and it ended up saving us time, saving us waste, saving us other problems. Yeah, some of you have been there. Emojis up. And so I would say sometimes these are stories more than, hey, we saved the company X. But if you can get numbers, go to the engineering people. Hey, engineering people, remember when we learned from research that we're going in the wrong direction and you never coded the wrong thing? How many sprints do you think that saved us? And they might say, oh, wow, you saved us probably 2 sprints now and maybe another 3 later when we would have tried to fix this problem. So get these types of numbers, and that will help show people that UX is not just about making customers happy or having empathy, but we really are saving time, saving money, saving risk, saving waste, and then helping us bring in money and customers. And we do have a question in the chat room, despite your requests to put them in Q&A.
It's so good. We've got 2 of us tonight, so there's plenty of people to moderate. So yeah, anybody who's coming new, because I saw that a couple of people have come in new, this isn't Ask Me Anything, so go ahead with any questions related to UX or product design. Debbie's got them all covered.
Product strategy, yes.
Product strategy, yes, exactly. We have some questions already in the Q&A tab that you can upvote on if you can't think of anything, but if not, feel free to populate the Q&A tab or the chat. But yes, we do have a question here. Hello, Debbie. I'm a UX architect working in the banking product company. I have a question regarding the value of conducting user research with a limited sample size of around 10 to 20 people when the product serves millions of users. What are your thoughts?
Oh, it's too bad my new article isn't out yet because I wrote just about this. So I think if you're in my Patreon, you have that article now, and if you're not in my Patreon, you don't have that article yet. Okay, that doesn't look right. Anyway, so here's the thing. The current best practice says that, and Balaji, tell me, is this generative research, like early research, discovery, exploratory, where we're trying to learn more about people? And I've got a good graphic for this one. People, contexts, and systems. Are we trying to learn more about that? Or is this more of an evaluative study where we have a prototype or a dev build or a product and we're looking to see, check the usability of it, see if it solves people's problems? Do you know which type of research this is? But while you tell me in the chat room, or is this coming up in somewhere else? Let me see. No. Yes. No. Oh, somebody added something to the. We've got Charlotte in the Q&A. We'll get to you next. No offense. I want to prioritize the audience over Rosie's questions. Okay, discovery research to understand what about the features users expect. Now, remember, that's technically not discovery research. Discovery research is not supposed to be, we already know what features we're building. Let's find some people who like it or will respond to them. That's the way some product management books write about discovery, but that is actually incorrect. So you are welcome to check out my articles on discovery research. Go to my YouTube channel for more on what discovery research should be. But we should be discovering what people need, not saying, hey, we already have this idea. We already know what features we want to build. What do you think? Or what do you need? Or what do you expect? So to me, this isn't the correct research. I don't think this is being planned correctly. You're welcome to contact me privately if you think I can help you out. But let's go back to your original question of, is 10 to 20 people the correct number? The best practice for many years has been to conduct research with 8 to 12 people per target audience, per segment, per persona, per typology, however your bank or company breaks this up. So if you tell me that, oh, this is the business side of banking and we group people into 4 buckets, entrepreneurs, a small business, medium business, large enterprises, then I'm going to say you should be meeting 8 to 12 times 4. But very often these numbers were made up by white men a bunch of years ago, and you can be sure they were not thinking about as much diversity as we're thinking about today, or should be if you're on my side of things. And so we should remember that to me is a minimum, because with that, okay, maybe you get some people of different genders, maybe you get some different ages, maybe you get some different ethnicities, but did you include marginalized groups? Did you include immigrants or refugees? Did you include people with disability needs or diagnoses or conditions? Because not every diagnosis is a disability. So I want to make sure that we are meeting a good range of people. I'm worried less about you have millions of users. We know that. Lots of companies do. The question is, how do you bucket or segment them? When we did research for a famous online selling platform a few years ago, they had 6 target audiences. So we met 71 people. 8 to 12 times 6. That's been the best practice for some time. I think there's room to expand it. That's what my article will be about. So I would say 10 to 20 can make sense. If you tell me we only have 2 different types of users, maybe 3. Then I would say, okay, 10 to 20 might represent 2 types of users, but hey, are you going to make sure you recruit for genders, ages, all the things I mentioned before? Otherwise, you run the risk that someone says, hey, let's get some white guys. Let's talk to some white guys and you see what they like. And remember, the best research to plan is not, this is the feature we're building, what do you expect? That is too late, because you already have the feature idea. You already think you know the problem and how to solve it. So what are you really asking these people? And is your team or company open to hearing, I don't need that? Also, you're not showing them the feature. It sounds like you're going to ask them about the feature. I'm making that up. I don't know for sure. You tell me. That means very often you get yeses and positives, because if I say to you, hey, you like to drink liquids, right? And you probably want to drink them out of a cup, right? If we offered a cup, would you buy a cup? And you're thinking like, fuck yeah, like, yeah, it's a cup. I need a cup. I'm going to put liquids in it and drink out of it. So yeah, I think I need that. Yeah. And what would you expect from a cup? Well, I expect a cup to hold liquids and let me drink out of it. And I think it shouldn't be too expensive. And then we go, oh, hooray. They love the idea of our cup. Do they? Do they? Or did we manipulate this? If I show up and go, okay, here's your mofo cup, buy it, It holds a liter and it's the size of your head, and people with arthritis won't be able to hold it. And then people don't want the cup, and everyone goes, what just happened? We held that great discovery research. We followed Teresa Torres's book and everything. So more critical thinking for what you're trying to work on. If you don't mind me poking at it a bit, I think that you might have not enough people, but you might also be asking the wrong people the wrong questions, and I'm more worried about that. So again, if you think I can help at all, contact me privately, and I will do what I can to rescue this project.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Debbie, for your insights. I'm interesting to see like the numbers as well of people researching in focus groups and what you've worked with before and how things are changing as well in terms of, I mean, Rosie and I have been discussing it earlier today off the back of the What If Summit. So looking at, you know, accessibility, not just within the events themselves, but just kind of within the design space on our online platform even. Rosie's spearheading that within the company. So it's interesting to get a feel from that from your side. If you're happy to
And
ask
UX
us.
doesn't usually do focus groups, so just warning there. Focus groups is very marketing, so UX usually
Okay.
doesn't do them for a mountain of reasons why. I think see chapter 12. But one
Yeah.
of my favorite reasons to tell people to not do a focus group is imagine you have a focus group and imagine I'm in it. Oh, your focus group is so over. So, focus groups are immediately ruined by dominant personalities. Think about people who are shy or have anxiety. Like,
Mhm.
are they going to really speak up? So, we don't usually run focus groups. A lot of CX and UX research is best one-to-one.
That's really well, thank you. This is why we're here this evening to learn from you and see the future of that side of things. We do have some more questions through, being an Ask Me Anything, so I'll let you catch your
Great.
breath for a second there, Debs, but we have a
I
question
don't
come
need
through,
that.
Rosie. No worries. So this has come through from Charlotte. Thanks
Charlotte.
so much. Yeah, Charlotte's based in Brighton in the UK. So Charlotte's asked this evening, my company is structured around strategic objectives over the third. How do I promote this way of thinking when they are prioritizing clear revenue-based proposals within the 4 months?
Okay, so here you go. There's nothing wrong with a company trying to make revenue. That's how we all hold on to a job. So I'm not against a company having revenue goals, revenue targets, strategies that say we need to win more customers, we need to keep more customers, we have these revenue goals. My question would be, how do you balance that with what those customers need? If we were to research with those customers and take a look at their tasks, either inside of our system or potential customers who don't work with your company, how do they do these tasks having nothing to do with your system? Where are the problems, pain points, opportunities? So I think we have to find a way to, and again, my book is about a lot of this. I know I keep saying my book, it is available for free. So this is not just a hard sell. You can pay nothing for it and have it. But I would say, we have to find the balance, because if we're only looking at how do we bring in money, what typically happens is unethical and wacky crap where we go, oh, well, maybe we'll just hide things in the user's shopping cart, or maybe we'll make it a little harder to cancel. So this is, I also just did this, I think it might be on my YouTube channel. Let me find it. We just did this as a webinar, and I think it's going to be a good relevant one for you. Let me find it. Episode 199, how metrics influence product strategy. And it was a webinar about how when you are shooting for crappy goals or slightly suspicious goals, it kind of manifests in teamwork, often doing weird and unethical things to try to make users do stuff. So I would say, you or someone in a strategic place, maybe you can work together with your other cross-functional team members, an engineering lead, a product manager or owner. Get together and say, look, of course we want to make the company revenue, but not at the expense of ethics, not at the expense of our company values. If you have decent company values, bring them into the conversation. Did you promise to have empathy? Did you promise to be honest and transparent? Did you promise to put customers first? Then we have to find the balance between the money the company wants to make and the experiences that will make people go, I like being a customer of this company. They don't crap on me so much. So I know this is kind of generic advice. Charlotte, I hope it's helped. Let me know if there's a follow-up question there. There's something in the chat. Oh, it's from Rosie. So yeah, I hope that's helping, but please do ask a follow-up question, and I'm sure our Tech Circus friends will help boost it up so we can get it answered if you have a follow-up. Thank you.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, please do ask follow-ups. Any questions, send them our way. We do have a new question for you, Debbie. Has UX evolved in the workplace? I sure hope it does. Has AI affected how professionals approach UX projects? How can we prepare as students to build a new skill sets?
Okay, hold on. That's 3 questions. Let me write that down.
Yeah. So
Skill That's
how
right.
is
I'm writing this down. So I've written down UX evolved, AI in projects, and skill sets for students.
yes.
All right, let's touch on those. So has UX evolved in the workplace? In my opinion, it has devolved. I believe that when I used to work in UX jobs, I was much more understood. I was much more appreciated. This is probably the kind of stuff you also hear from if you hang out on LinkedIn a lot. Dr. Nick and Darren and Tom Kerwin and David Hamill and some of the interesting people that are out there. A lot of us are saying like UX doesn't seem to be what it used to be. And so I feel like UX has devolved in the workplace where people used to bring me in as a strategic problem finder and problem solver. And now I won't even apply for a design job because they just want me to make Figma shapes that match someone else's idea. I don't get to be a problem finder or problem solver. And I've written a few times that I think product designers are unfortunately products apostrophe s designer, like, hey, just make what the product manager says. So I think UX is in a bit of a tough time where it is less understood, and I think it's up to our leaders to fix that. I don't expect juniors and newbies to fix that. I that it's our crappy leaders who have to um have some tough conversations and fix that and stop making us order takers. Second question, AI and projects. So we just did a free webinar on our channel. I think it's available to my Patreon members, but won't be available to the public for another week. And it's called AI and UX. We had these 2 great AI experts on who really explained AI to us. But in short, I think that AI and UX projects doesn't belong yet. I also wrote this out when I was interviewed by UX Tweak. They did a whole series on it where they asked like me and Darren Hood and the always amazing Stephanie Walter and some other people for their opinions on AI and UX. And my feeling is it's not there yet. There isn't anything AI can do for me that I think it's doing better than I can do. Is it fast? Sure. Is it accurate? No. It's hallucinating, it's returning garbage. So even when the only thing I use AI for right now is I'll give it a YouTube video transcript from my own videos. I'll feed it into Claude and I'll say, can you give me like a 1,000-word article with some bullet points? And then I'll turn that into an article. But I have to completely rewrite it. The thing is a mess. And it makes up stuff that if any of you know me, do any of you know me? Emojis up. It will say stuff like, Debbie Levitt recommends design thinking. And I'm like, my career is over. I'm against design thinking. Where did AI get that? Well, AI is trained on lots of sites and content that say, just do design thinking. So I think UX is not ready. AI and UX, not yet. We'll get there. Not this year, probably not next year. There's just too much made up crap, and it's not as good at summarizing things where it can really help us with our data. I just don't trust it yet. It's not, if it were a worker, I would fire it. So, it's not doing a good job. Thanks, Izzy, for liking my jokes. And then, what skill sets should a student have? The best answer for that is go look at some job descriptions and see what skills they're looking for. Because I can tell you what I think is important. I can say, ooh, I love critical thinking, information architecture, boop, bop, a beep. But if all the job descriptions you're looking at say, please be a good robot and use Figma well, then who cares what I said? So I would say if you want to know what skills are hottest and most important right now, you have to look at what jobs are asking for. And again, because the job descriptions were so ugly in design, I switched fully over to research. I'd been doing both for many years, and now I will only take research jobs because all the design jobs look to me like be an artist, which I'm not, and push Figma around, and I hate Figma. So so that's a no from me, but check out what these things ask for, and that's your guide of where to focus your upskilling. Good luck.
That's yeah, good luck, everyone. Yeah, thank you for that, Debbie. We've had a few more sort of questions come through from the
Great.
audience as well, and this is quite interesting in terms of kind of taking a step back and looking at the current design climate as well. We know that there's been a lot of ups and downs recently. In fact, at the conference coming up, Product Design Week, we've got a panel all around this called Controlling the Controllable, which Giles Airy is kindly hosting for us on the first day, on the Tuesday. And just in line with that, we've got a question through from Laura. Thank you so much, Laura, is joining us from Digitas Health. Just asking around kind of starting to build out my UX team, starting to build up the UX team at the company, and wondered if you had any kind of tips or main, I guess, watch outs in that hiring process. There's a second question off the back of that, but maybe just starting with that one, I think it will be interesting to get some insights on your thoughts as to what's going on at the moment on this side of things, and Debbie's thoughts on it will be fab. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I did write an 8-hour free course for HR and hiring managers on how to hire people in our, I know, right? Like I have nothing better to do. So it's available at my deltacx.academy. I wrote it a few years ago. You may or may not feel it's relevant, but let's answer your question more directly. You're building your UX team at your company. Thing one, good. Thing two, if I can help at all, please reach out to me personally. Thing three, chapter 19 or 20 in the book. Do I have any tips or watch outs in the hiring process? Yes. One of my key watch outs is about the personality of the people you're meeting. And I differentiate, this is actually in my old book, but let's talk about it now. I differentiate between what I call order takers and interface scientists. So there are people I've met throughout my career who are absolutely rewarded by and prefer their job when someone can say, hey, just make me a thing. I know I want a book cover that says customers know you suck, and it's got a bunch of post-it notes on it, and the post-it notes say this, and my name's on the bottom, and just make the thing. And there are some people who feel extremely rewarded by the opportunity to make that thing for that person and know they did a good job. There are some, I call those order takers, because you've kind of told them what to make. You've said, make me bacon and eggs, and they brought you fantastic, creative bacon and eggs. Then there are people who I call interface scientists, who are your problem finders and problem solvers. So make sure you have decided who you're looking for, because this is the biggest mistake I see companies make. Even if they feel like they got a good product designer or a good researcher or a good manager or a good whatever, especially in the individual contributor level, very often people will try to hire me for an order taking job. That is an ugly mismatch. I'm not going to stay and you're going to hate me. Or they try to hire more of an order taker personality who really wants to be more concretely told what to do. They like those boundaries. And we ask them to find and solve our problems. And it's just not their strength. So I would just say, make sure you are, when you are interviewing people, be clear on whether you want that critical thinker, problem finder, problem solver, deductive reasoning, logic person, or if you want the person who's going to do a good job following directions. And I think that's a huge mistake. That's my biggest watch out in the hiring process, especially of designers. It's a 2 interview process. I'm not asking applicants to do a takeaway design task because I think they're biased towards people with free time in the evening. Yes, I'm against design challenges, so I'm totally with you on that. I think you can learn a lot from people first about from their portfolio and how they tell you the story of work they did, and then from some questions that you can ask them. But I would definitely try to come up with some personality-based questions about whether where they talk about a project where you would feel really rewarded, or things like, or sometimes what I say to people is, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? And I find that artists will say, I'm an artist, and they are. And I find that I will tell you, I'm a problem finder and solver, or I'm a change agent. There, I would say, make sure you don't put the wrong person in the wrong job personality wise. Laura, I hope that's helped a little bit. Let me know if you have a follow-up question.
I personally have a follow-up question. On the other end is, you mentioned how you think the takeaway tasks are not utilized. You can use portfolios. How would a sort of beginner designer sort of create a portfolio that maybe stands out and really demonstrates that kind of work?
Yeah, I think that was episode 148 on our Delta CX YouTube channel. So you can go to YouTube and write Delta CX 148, and I go, hope I remember that well from memory. Y'all just look for it, or go to YouTube and just write Delta CX portfolios. Don't watch the really old one, watch the newer one. It's like 148. But basically, the most important thing a portfolio can do, remember, portfolio is speed dating. It doesn't get you the job. It's just trying to get you the interview. So you have a very short amount of time, like speed dating, to make me say, I think this person kind of knows what they're doing. I think I'd like to meet them. So the best thing you can do is show me that you know what you're doing. If you have a portfolio that doesn't tell that story, or tells the story badly, you might not get that interview. That doesn't mean you're bad at UX. It doesn't mean you'll never get a job. It could just be in the storytelling, or it could be that you're still learning. So I would say, watch that video and think more about, how do you tell a hiring manager like me a story that says, okay, I'm a little bit newer to this, but you know what? I know what I'm doing. Sure, I'm more junior. I'm going to need some work reviews. I'm going to need some help, but I have good foundational knowledge of doing the right things the right way. And I'm going to show you a portfolio where I showed you where I guessed at stuff, or where I knew stuff, or like, I'm just going to let you into my head. And I think the biggest problem in a lot of these portfolios is, it's called it's the biggest problem is what I call in that video, I did a thing. So a lot of people will say, like, then I researched with users, then I made a flow, and I'll go, well, I can't judge your ability to do research. You didn't tell me anything about your plan, your questions, your recruiting, your analysis, your synthesis, your reporting. You just told me you did a thing. I don't know if you do that thing well. I can cut your hair, but you won't be glad I did. Not everybody who did a thing did it well. So that's what I want to know.
That's awesome. Thanks, Debs. Just kind of hopping in there off the back of that, and also I know we have touched upon AI. Again, that's creeping in everywhere at the moment, whether it's with UX writing like ChatGPT being used, or whether it's kind of looking at emerging tech. And I mean, we're covering pretty much everything within the Product Design Week. It's even within the Behavioral Science Conference, the BAD conference, looking at ChatGPT being used in cognitive behavioral therapy. So people using it to kind of reach out to. So I mean, it's not, it's very early stages, but it's interesting to see how it is kind of being reflected in different elements. But kind of moving that to one side, is there anything you feel, I think Rosie might pop this in the chat, I can bring it onto the stage just for now, but just looking at sort of the challenges that are being faced, but also the trends. So for example, this time next year when we're putting together business in design, is there anything you feel that will be kind of highlighting any particular areas that you that you see happening now within like patterns within UX that you feel will be including, and if so, what they are for the audience to kind of start thinking ahead to 2024. Thanks.
Yeah. So I would say like UX itself doesn't have trends in the sense that good design is good design and making things usable. It's not a trend. Visual design has some trends. We used to like shadows on everything. We like rounded corners on things. The visual design and branding and things like that have trends. UX generally doesn't, but the work of UX certainly does go through trends in the sense of like, we all worked from home in the pandemic and now we're being told to go back to the office. Okay, that's a trend and that's going to change and evolve over time. Or AI. A couple of years ago, we barely said anything about AI, or we thought it was something from a futuristic movie. And now it's all we talk about. And so I think there are trends in that sense. And I think that what are we going to be talking about next year? Unfortunately, I think it's going to be the same things as this year. It's going to be more AI wackiness, insert Benny Hill theme here, and yakety sax. And I think it's going to be more remote work versus coming into offices fighting. I just saw that a bunch of New York workers were about to strike because they don't want to be told to go back into the office. Someone else told me that a very, very famous bank, they got this from an insider, so I don't think I'm supposed to say what bank, but a very famous American bank, the CEO announced internally, everybody back in the office or I'm firing your ass kind of thing. And everyone in the office on this day or you're fired. And the person said 50% of people showed up and the other 50% were like this. And it did not make the news. It stayed internal, so like I can't say anything, but because the story was told to me a little secondhand there. But yeah, I think especially if the economy starts getting better and we can leave a job and find a better job, then there will be more of those middle fingers at the companies that are offering these inflexible work situations that especially hurt people with disabilities, diagnoses, and conditions. So I don't think we're going to see new trends next year. I think we're still going to be talking about the same garbage. I think we're going to be talking about AI. I think we're going to be talking about where can work be done, which definitely the answer is my house. And the same wacky stuff. Hopefully we'll be talking more about accessibility and giving a real crap about people. I hope we'll be talking about marginalized communities and how deep that has to go to remove um all kinds of crap. Let's just say that. All kinds of crap. So there are things I hope we'll be talking about, but unfortunately, I think we're going to see a lot of the same crap. But quickly, the things I hope we'll talk about will be accountability, because someone should be in trouble for waste and crap and toxicity in our companies. I hope we'll be talking about failure. We are failing way too much, and now we're glorifying failure. Airbnb, 92% of their A/B tests fail. Well, then they suck. Like, then you're bad at this. That we shouldn't be glorifying that. That's a ridiculous failure rate. I went I have a business degree. No one said fail a lot, like, so I hope we'll be talking about how high failure rates are a sign of evil and not a sign of, hooray, this is great product management. And I hope we'll be talking more about feature factories, like why discovery research isn't going to a bunch of customers going, hey, we want to build this thing anyway, what do you expect from it? That's not discovery research. And I don't understand why we're reading product management books and taking research advice from someone who, according to her LinkedIn, has never been a researcher. Why, baby Jesus? Why are we listening to that person? No one takes my advice on JavaScript, and you shouldn't. I'm not an expert at it. Why are we taking the advice of someone like Teresa Torres about research when she hasn't been a researcher? And according to her LinkedIn, the last time she worked in UX was 1999. Why are we listening to her advice on how research should be done and seen? So I hope these are the things we'll talk about next year. I hope we'll talk about company values. How many of you, emojis up because they're anonymous, how many of you, emojis up, are watching stuff happen in your company where you go, this doesn't match our company values? this breaks our promises to our customers. Right. So where's the accountability? Where's the company values? Where's following through on our promises? We shouldn't see so many emojis right now, but yet we are. So these are the conversations I hope we'll be having, because I think AI is a distraction. I think return to office is a distraction. Put on your tinfoil hats. Sorry, go ahead.
No, totally agree. Totally agree there, Debbie. We have another question from Adam. So just to jump straight into it, because we're nearly at time. We've got about 10 minutes left.
Boo.
Yeah. We've got a little flexibility. But I agree the role has often become more of a design systems manager built by somebody else, while the change must come from the top. How do you flex your constructive thinking and business skills without rocking the boat too much? That's an interesting one.
Yeah, so thing one, as soon as you try to be constructive and business, you are rocking the boat. So you have to ask yourself, how much do I want to rock a boat? How comfortable am I rocking a boat? Because that's just it. Change is that. You can't create change without rocking a boat. Otherwise, we're just rowing the boat and we're just going in the same direction we were. So I would say, first of all, decide if you're comfortable rocking the boat. Your title here says junior. I don't expect you to be comfortable rocking a boat. It's really okay if you're not. If you make no change at your company for the next year or two, I'm not going to poop on you at all, because it's not, you're just trying to keep your job right now. And so if you're going to tap dance along to stuff, just go home and look in the mirror and say, I did my best. I'm not in a position yet to make this kind of change. But you can go to a manager, if you have a good one, and say, I don't want to just be the design system manager. I don't want to just take orders from other people. Do you still have your job description? Did the job description say you were going to be solving problems? Hey, remember when my job description said I was going to be solving problems? I'd like to be doing more of that and not just, making buttons round. I think the question is, who do you feel comfortable talking to, and how much do you want to start to wiggle in the boat? And if the answer is not at all, then that's fine. You have to decide how much risk you want to take, because it is a tough time to get a job right now, and maybe it's safer to just phone it in and keep making buttons round and collect your money. I'm not going to fault you for that. Not everybody is going to be a change agent, and not everybody should be a change agent in a bad economy where it's hard for us to get a new job. I'm usually not afraid of these things, because usually eventually someone will hire me, but I've been doing this 4,000 years. So I would say, determine what your comfort level with your own risk and boat rocking is, and start with someone who is your ally. If your manager is your ally, go to them. If your manager is not your ally, you know what I'm going to say next. That's a tough place to work. And if you have no ally, I'm sorry. And you might just have to press pause until you can go work at a better place.
Awesome. Thanks, Debs. Yeah, just kind of looking a bit closely into that sort of company culture whilst we've got a few more minutes. And I know we've touched upon remote working and people some companies especially being asked to come back into an office to kind of breed that collaborative culture, especially in the design space. Do we get together? Is it necessary? Does it mean that we all get more outcomes if we're together in a room? I mean, there are definitely pros and cons, and I think within different teams, like Rosie and I have definitely encountered certain companies saying, actually, it works really well for us. The last Friday of every month, we get together, we team build, we have a meal, whatever it might be. Whereas others are like, we're actually far better at home. It's more efficient use of our time. But Rosie's actually popped a question in. I think it would be quite interesting just to have a look at this one, if that's okay.
Sure.
Which is sort of looking, it'll pop up in a sec perhaps, but I can just read it out. But looking at how, if you've got any advice on how to create a strong design culture, maybe that could be remote or it could be in an office, ways that you found maybe leading teams that have brought real value, whether that be the team stand-up meeting that we have each morning, or whether that be using certain like bonusly points on Slack to thank your team for certain things and certain achievements. Just any tips you've got for the audience would be really helpful, I think. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Thanks for the question. My usual tips there are what I like to call play to your audience. Izzy and I are musicians. You got to play. Sometimes you got to play to your audience. If you show up at a rock concert and you brought a banjo, you might not be playing to your audience. And so, I think that when it comes to this type of cultural question and team building questions, the question is what works for your audience. Now, we say in psychology that some people are extrinsically motivated and some are intrinsically motivated. The people who are extrinsically motivated tend to like rewards, recognitions, gold stars, gamification, Slack says you're the mayor, whatever it is. The people who are intrinsically motivated are a little bit more inward focused. That's someone like me. I've never felt peer pressure. I stopped caring what people thought about me roughly in 1974. And so, I am unlikely to be motivated by Slack gave me a donut or whatever it is. So first you have to be a little bit more familiar with the people on your team to see what motivates them and what works for them. Do people have any disabilities, diagnoses, or conditions that make them feel anxious, shy, not as social, or social in a different way or a better way? Are we making sure I don't want to just accommodate that? I want to cover it in sparkles and make it part of our culture. So um I think it's really about getting to know people's individual styles, because again, if you give me Slack stars, I'm not gonna do anything. So I don't I can't say the not safe for work thing in my head, but there's a comedy sketch where a woman was kind of like, if you give me roses, I'm not doing that. Let's just sum it up that way. So, I, I don't want roses. I don't want a bouquet of flowers, virtual or real. So it's really about knowing your teams and what works for them. And I think some of these old ways of doing things aren't really going to build that culture. My current job, which is fully remote, even the people who are in the same town barely get together. And in our weekly meeting, we always start with an icebreaker or funny stories. And we have a topic, and everyone goes around the room and tells their wacky stories. I think our last topic was like, what was the worst Halloween costume you ever wore and why? So we have like a 45-minute or hour meeting, but we probably spend 10 or 15 minutes of it just being silly. And I think that there's something to be said for that, because then we look forward to the meeting. We're getting to know each other more. We get these silly stories from each other. Last time I was like turning my camera around on my dogs. I'll try to do it today. One of them's taking a nap. Let's see if we can get it. I've got one of those remote control cameras now. Everybody, please hold. Off the blue screen. There we go. So there's Deanna. She's on the red couch today. And back to me. So I was doing some of that in the last meeting. What's more fun, the meeting or Deanna the dog? Clearly, Deanna the dog. So I think it's just if you can build in humanity and the things going on in our homes or offices or remote working locations, I think it just brings people together, but again, based on their individual comfort level.
Yeah, definitely. We've actually got within our team, quite a few members have. Oh, here we are. Here's
Oh,
Rosie's dog, Ripley.
yay.
He
Oh,
joins our team stand up, Debbie. He's been finding us speakers as well recently. He's getting all set for speakers for next
pick
year.
me,
He's part of
Ripley.
the
Pick
content team.
me. Oh, I love
Yeah, absolutely
Ripley.
beautiful. But it's nice to hear like those tips and tricks as well. It's something that I've been but working with the team to kind of push forward as well. It's not just down to the business, which obviously is vital, but also work and having a bit of laugh together. The beauty of being an events team is you get to see each other at the events themselves in person. So it's quite a nice bit of a mix up for us. But Rosie, I'm not sure if any other questions have come through whilst I was having a bit of a conversation there with Debbie. I'll let you take the lead if so. Thanks.
Currently no new questions, but it's kind of perfect timing because we're just about
Gosh,
time.
short time. There's another doggy. Adam's doggy's come through.
Oh, that's just a GIF, is
I
it?
think that's just
Oh,
yeah.
ignore me. I'm gonna go
Sadly,
mute.
just a GIF. Yeah.
We
Wah
we
wah.
got we got 2 dogs today, so I think we're quite lucky. But Debbie, any sort of closing thoughts, and I think you think people really need to hear?
The main thing people need to hear is you're not alone. It's not just happening to you. Whatever it is not just happening to you. I just had a conversation with someone at work who said, I can't believe this wacky thing is happening to me. I said, guess what? It's happening to me too. And now that gives us a whole new perspective on what's going on because she thought it was just her. I thought it was just me. Now we've got a whole new perspective on what the hell is going on. Compare notes with people. It is not just you, and reach out to people who will be helpful and be there for you. We've got a free Slack community, a free Discord community. We're just out there supporting each other. If that interests anybody, check it out. You can find it at deltacx.com/links. It's where I put the links to everything. I'll write it in the chat, deltacx.com/links. And that'll have a lot of the stuff I was talking about today, so you can jump off from there to kind of everything. But and if you're in a community that is not raising you up and you're like, why am I here, leave it. Start to protect yourself, your time, your mental health. I left Facebook over 6 years ago. It is a sucking quicksand vortex of negativity and crap, in my opinion. I'm not on Twitter, X, whatever it's called this week. I'm not on Snapchat. I'm not on TikTok. I'm very protective of my time and headspace, and I only want to watch stuff that is entertaining in a positive way. I don't find horror movies entertaining. I don't find abusive movies about abusive people entertaining. I'm mostly watching emojis up for Ryan George on YouTube. Ryan George and pitch meetings. Yes. I mostly watch funny stuff on YouTube. I watch cooking because no one got killed. I watch sometimes people talking about archaeology, though sometimes there's someone got killed. But try to fill your world with positive stuff that lifts you up. And if you're in a place where you're not feeling that, it's okay to go. It's okay to walk out. Sometimes it's not the coolest thing in town, but I'll do it. I've walked out of holiday parties. I've walked out of family dinners. If I didn't feel like I fit somewhere, I'm happy to just go and do my own thing.
Good for you, Debbie, and hopefully you don't feel like that would come to our event.
Surely not.
We're all set. We've got your speaking slot. You're hosting with us. No, it's going to be an absolute pleasure. And yeah, just a big thank you for today, for taking the time out of your evening to be here and to put time. And I know that
Sure.
you and Rosie have worked really closely to put this together. I just hopped in because I love seeing you. I think from my side, I'll let Rosie close out, but the main thing would be, please come along, audience, to Business and Design. If you haven't yet purchased a ticket, make sure you do before 11 o'clock tonight. The prices will be going up, and the UX Crunch 15 code gives you a 15% discount, or reach out to myself and Rosie for a special code too. Really look forward to welcoming you, Debbie, on the 17th of, I was about to say December, but that's nearly Christmas Day, November. And big thanks again. Look forward to just, meeting you in person, but hand over to Rosie. Thanks again, Rosie.
Well, thanks to all of you. And thanks to a couple of people who just added me on LinkedIn. And again, if there's something you think I can do to help, please, people, reach out to me. I'm all over the place, and I do try to help.
Yeah, thank you so much, Debbie. I am unfortunately the opposite. I love horror movies. However, I am very careful of what I follow and I allow my algorithm. But it is quite funny because I do have these little positive affirmation work cards. So these are great if anybody's a little bit more anxious and stuff like that. They need to cultivate that aspect of positivity. But yeah, I did celebrate Halloween with a good old horror movie last night. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope everybody got as much value as they needed. So thank you everybody for joining us. We really appreciate it, and see